going to give everybody a second here to get in and then we'll get started. All right, we'll let people continue to filter in and we'll start this situation. All right, so welcome to today's user group on what's new and upcoming in SugarCRM. I know there are a lot of questions, concerns, thought processes, wondering about all this new information that we're hearing from Sugar about what's new and upcoming. So won't waste too much time on my intro, but just a reminder that if throughout the presentation you have questions or comments on things, you can throw those in the chat and we'll be monitoring that. So the host today, myself, I'm the Director of Marketing, Janine Madura. We have Anjum Faruqi, our Business Analyst, Justin Kielthau, our Director of Services, and Megan Dries, our Customer Success Director. And these three lovely humans are going to be taking us through some information on what Sugar is offering and what the changes are with Sugar instances. So I will leave it to them to get us started.
Thank you, Janine. Today, our agenda is going through version 11.3. We're going to touch on a number of different parts of the 11.3 release, specifically UI, or user interface, and UX, user experience enhancements, which include things like studio and administration enhancements, calendar enhancements, and then we also have enhancements that are specific to the different editions of SugarCRM, specifically SugarCell and SugarServe. We're also going to hear a little bit about Enterprise, which is the on-premise version of SugarCRM. Then we're going to have a version 12 sneak peek, as well as some licensing changes that are upcoming in Sugar. Now, the first thing we're going to cover is UI enhancements. Sugar has revamped the user interface for a more robust look and feel. The improvements include a sharper font and updates to UI elements in dashboards, dashlets, list views, record views, administration, and dark mode. And I'd like to take a second to demonstrate some of those changes. You can see here in the image, the side-by-side subpanels look a lot different. And we're going to look at how we have changed how we interact with those in just a second. So let me see if I can bring those up. Just close that and come back to our renewals console. On the left, we have the newer version 11.3. On the right, we have the slightly older version 11.2. The main difference you're going to see here is that they have updated the charts that you're going to see in Sugar Dashlets as well as reports. The colors are a lot different in my calls by month. We're also no longer seeing our legend up here, which is fine. We see a nice legend down here. So that's one little change. They've updated charts. They've added a couple of new chart types. And they have a newer donut chart that's pretty cool. Unfortunately, I don't have a demo of that right now. But if we jump to an account list view, this is where we can see, and you might not be able to see it in my share, but we have a new font. It's a little sharper, a little easier to read. I think it's slightly bigger as well on the left compared to the right. And then we see more of those changes here when we're looking at a detail view. Let's get rid of our intelligence panel over there. Specifically, we saw earlier on the dashboard, the dashlets have rounded edges now, whereas before they were square, everything was square. And before everything kind of ran together, now they're separated. You'll also notice that over here we have the plus sign and the drop downs These are only visible if you're hovering over the title view. In addition, and this is not new to 11.3, it actually works in 11.2, you can double click on a row, whether in a subpanel or a list view, to edit it. And I thought that was pretty cool. I wanted to make sure I pointed that out before we move forward, even though it's not necessarily new to 11.3. So I think it looks a lot nicer. I hope you do too. If you have any feedback, let us know and we'll provide that back to Sugar. Next up on our list, we have some user experience enhancements. The first being document merge improvements. Doc merge is a new tool that was formerly known as WDocs. It allows you to take Sugar data and put it into Word documents, PDF documents, and even PowerPoints. The precursor to this in SugarCRM was their PDF manager, which was a little bit dated, and Doc Merge is just a lot nicer. And we demoed that previously. But a new action we can do is having Doc Merge actions in Sugar BPMs. So you can have a workflow that will generate documents for you on the fly as you perform certain actions in SugarCRM, which I'm going to demo in just a little bit. A couple of other Doc Merge improvements. They have a file compatibility check. You used to be able to upload any file you wanted. Now it's going to make sure you actually are uploading a document. So a little bit of quality of life improvement there. Document template file type labels. So before, when you were selecting a template, you kind of had to guess which template you were selecting. Now you can see whether you're choosing a Word document, a PowerPoint, or a PDF. And there is an enhancement to help you generate the templates for Doc Merge. It lets you copy as table. It's a copy as table button. So if you're looking at an account and you want to pull in all of the related contacts, you can, within the template helper, just select a button that says copy as table, and that will let you then create that in your template a lot easier. There is a focus drawer improvement where you can now browse through list views. It essentially put the up and down arrow into the focus drawer, which I'll demonstrate in a little bit. We used to have this where you could just in the record view go left and right. Now it's up and down in the focus drawer, and it's really nice. We use it every week in our case review meetings. The focus drawer is now also available in more places. It used to be you'd be looking at, let's say, the name of an account, and you didn't have the little boxes to open the focus drawer. They're adding that in more places. Places like the purchase history dashlet and the email and message cards in the timeline dashlet. We also now have persistent list view column order and subpanel layout. So a user can log into SugarCRM, and under the account detail view, for example, they can change the order of the subpanels there. They can also go to their account list view and change what order their fields in the list view are in. That used to be stored in the browser cache, but I'm sure you've all had to clear your browser cache at some point or another to fix a bug with a website, and then you'd lose those things. So now that type of data is stored in the database, so you won't lose it if you are clearing your browser cache. There's another simple function, a nice quality of life improvement where you can restore the default layout for the renewals console. And now that dreaded loading alert, which sometimes got stuck on the screen, all of those alerts now have an X you can click on to just remove it. And I'm hoping I can demo that now if I have any that get stuck. So let's go ahead and jump into SugarCRM. I'm going to bring up SugarCRM again here. I'm going to go to my next tab. First, we're going to look at the Doc Merge process definition. I have an account Doc Merge process definition here. I'm going to go ahead and quickly design it. Here you can see I have an account is created or modified, just a very basic start condition. If it's new or updated, I want to run my process definition. Then we have this new action type of Doc Merge. And if I click on the settings, I can choose what my document template is, and I can doc merge to PDF. So if normally it would create a Word document, I can say, let's not do that. Let's just create a PDF. You have that option here. Very simple. I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. And then we just lead into an end. So I'm going to jump back to my account here, X Holdings, and I'm going to refresh my subpanels here. And if I scroll down, you'll notice I don't have any documents. But if I come up here, edit, and let's say just add a tag for a doc and save this, it's now going to run that process definition. And if I click my subpanel refresh button here, let's hope it's already occurred. Nope. We'll run back up and refresh list. It does take a few seconds to generate a document. Now here we have it. You'll see documents, Excel holdings. We have a file. I can now click that account with contact. It's going to download that and save as. I can save that, open it up, and now I have my nice template. So I think it's pretty cool. We can now generate documents with a workflow. Right? Exiting that. I'm going to come back to my account list view. The next thing I'm going to demo is this focus drawer. Whenever you see this icon, these three squares, three rectangles, if I click on this, it's going to open the focus drawer. You can do this from list views. You can do it from subpanels. You can do it from a number of other places as well. What's new is this up and down view, which I think is pretty cool. Like I said, we use this every Monday morning for our case review meetings. And you've got your timeline here. You have a comment log. We use all of this for our case review meetings. You can modify these views however you see fit to work best for you. And that's what we've done, and we like it a lot. Let's see if I can get the last item to occur. The last thing to do is you'll see here we have an X on my loading. I can exit that. Whenever we have a loading icon, I can exit it. So you no longer have alerts getting stuck. And it's not just loading, it's any alert will now have that X that we can X out of. All right, let's see if we can jump back to PowerPoint and go to our next slide. Studio and administration enhancements. To start off with, we have the redesigned admin page. Sugar's been getting away from what they call backwards compatible mode for some time now into the sidecar framework. And to match Sugar's updated look, the admin page now has an updated interface. It's very nice. As part of that updated admin page, they have admin search, which lets you very quickly search for what you're looking for, whether you're looking for studio or email settings or users. You can very quickly find those things. We now also have the functionality, and this has been asked for a very long time, to be able to copy user preferences, dashboards, and filters for other users. We do have to be careful because if we copy Justin's preferences or dashboards or filters over Denine's preferences, dashboards, or filters, it's going to overwrite everything she previously had. So this is mostly useful for new users if you want to get them set up with a lot of really nice, let's say, dashboards and filters, and you're cloning another sales user into a new sales user. That's a great use of it, but you have to be wary if you're doing it with existing users that are already set up the way they like. We then have a new functionality, drop-down conditional record view layouts. So the example that comes to mind at the top of my mind would be accounts of different types, let's say customers and prospects. You can have totally different fields depending on which type of account you are looking at. And we'll see that in just a little bit. It's now easier to translate your field labels in the studio. It actually shows you what your comparison language when you're doing that. And I'll show that in just a minute. There is a new Sugar Logic function. If you're doing a lot of forecasting, you can now choose whether you're going to forecast for closed won forecast stages, closed lost forecast stages, and or the open forecast stages. So that's an interesting way to create calculated fields. I haven't figured out a use for it yet, but if you have one, I'd love to hear about it. And then we have added CSP directives. That stands for Content Security Policy Settings. I'm going to show this page and then talk a little bit more about what that might mean for you. So let's go ahead and bring Sugar back up here for a second. That's the wrong Sugar. This is the right Sugar. Let's go ahead and jump to our account page. You'll see it is now redesigned. It looks a lot sharper than it used to. And most importantly, we got rid of, if you ever pay attention to the URL, anything that is in backwards compatible mode would have a /BWC here. Now it just says /# administration. So it looks a lot nicer. It has panels that we can look at. We also now have this admin search settings. So for example, if I wanted to modify drop downs, I could do that right here, and it's going to pop up drop down editor. If I type in user, it's got a user management, import wizard, a lot of different options that have user somehow associated with them. I personally still prefer just doing the Control F Studio, but that's out of force of habit because I've been doing that for so long. If we come into users here, I'm going to click on users. We now have the functionality where we can copy content or copy user settings. I'm going to go ahead and click on copy content first. Here you can copy from user Jen Smith to specific users, to users on specific teams, or users on specific roles. So for example, if I had a role of salespeople and I set up one salesperson and I want to copy that to all the other salespeople, I could put that into the sales role here. Default teams is relatively straightforward. Every time a user creates a record, it's going to set the owner as their default teams. They can favorite some reports. You might have created a dozen reports for the sales team. You've clicked the star to favorite them. So every time they click the drop down, they're going to see their favorite records here. You can then have those show up. Navigation bar module selection. A lot of people don't know it, but if you come into the user profile, you can change the order and even what modules you see in the navigation bar. So you can copy that from one person to another. Notify on assignment is also a user preference. A user can go into their profile and choose whether they want to receive emails every time they're assigned a record by some other user. Reminder options for things like calendar entries, scheduled reports. If you have a sales report that goes out every Monday morning and you want all of your salespeople to get that, you can copy that scheduled report to all of those other people. And then Sugar email client, whether they use the Sugar email client or an external client like Outlook, you can get all of that data there. We also have copy user settings. Here, this is less like copying user settings, but more like mass updating. You can mass update the date format, what format they see, the time format, time zone, use wizard prompt. All these other good things, and send that to different users, teams, or roles. All right, the last thing I need to do is come back to my admin screen, which I think is here. I'm going to find my content security policy settings here. And what this does is, before we had this basic tab where we could add trusted domains. And this is very important if you are using any sort of iframe field or dashlet within SugarCRM. And an example of that would be, you can create a field, a website field, that will show you the map of the lead's address just by filling in the field values in the studio. But Bing or Google or whatever map you're using, you need to allow that as a valid third-party website you can show within SugarCRM. So you would do that here. Within the advanced tab, you can get into a lot of different things like fonts you can add, form actions. Most people will never use this, but it can be important if you're trying to embed some more advanced things like ERPs, accounting system, things like that, whether it's through a dashboard or, like I said, a website field. We internally embed dashboards that show our reporting engine from Zoho Reports, which stores a lot of data for us. So there's a lot of cool things you can do there. All right, I'm going to jump back to the PowerPoint here and jump to the next slide, calendar enhancements. And this is where my friend and colleague Anjum is going to come in, and she's going to take sharing away from me and show the slide and take us away.
Thank you, Justin. I'll take over. So to add on to the additional enhancements in release 11.3, there are a number of useful enhancements made to the calendar feature in Sugar. There is a calendar scheduler dashlet. So you can create this dashlet in any module within Sugar to view a glimpse of your activities for that week or that particular day. You can customize your calendar view by setting the first day of your work week and setting the start and end times for your working day. That would reflect in the day, week, or timeline views of your calendar. If you want to edit an activity or an event, you can do that directly from the calendar, and Sugar will give you the option to resend the invites or updates to anyone participating in that event. You can view your calendars and also view the calendars for anyone on your team, so you can coordinate and schedule meetings based on their availability for anyone involved in that. So I'll hop over to Sugar to show you how these features are working. So here is the calendar scheduler dashlet. So as you can see in my accounts module, I have an overview here of my entire work week. So I have upcoming meetings, emails that I'm planning to send out that I have set a reminder for, phone calls. I can set this so I can view this for the work week here. View depending on the day using this navigator. If I hop over to my calendar module, I can view more detail around just my calendar, and not particularly for the accounts module, but my calendar across all the different modules. So here you can see I have my all my meetings and tasks set up here. I can view that calendar here under my calendars. I can see I can just select to see just my meetings or just the calls that I have set up. I can add here under user and team calendars. I can, if I want to see Jim Brennan's meetings as well, I can add that here so we can coordinate timings with Jim. If I move that there, if I plan to update an invite, for example, if I want to move this lunch meeting up earlier in the afternoon, I can just drag that to the time that I want to move it to, and Sugar will automatically ask me if I want to save and send that invite to everyone involved in that meeting. Here as well, I can, if I go to my profile, I can customize my view to change my work week start time from Sunday through. So here I have my work week starting on Sunday, but if your work week starts on a different day of the week, you can update that, and that will update your calendar to show your full work week. depending on your setting here. So I'll go back into some of the other enhancements that we have. And go back to my PowerPoint. The sugar cell and serve enhancements. There are additional enhancements made to features on both sugar, cell, and serve. So for one, there is a timeline dashlet is a new feature added to the record view on your accounts, contacts, and leads modules. This dashlet will give you an overview of the upcoming activities specific to that contact or lead. And for customers who have Sugar Market, lead and contact interactions are automatically integrated into those timelines for the records via the Sugar Market sync. And that provides you visibility into the customer's entire journey without manually piecing those activities together. For escalation improvements, now you can import escalation records directly into Sugar through the import wizard. When you escalate an account or an opportunity, the records related to that account will automatically be linked to the related account. In reports, you can now schedule a report to be sent as a CSV file or a PDF file, or both a PDF and CSV, by changing the file type field on the report schedules record view. And then there's also improved knowledge base articles. So the layout and the authoring of those articles have been improved to make them a little easier to understand and navigate. So I'll try to show some of those features to you back in Sugar. So for example, here we have a lead within the leads module, and this timeline shows you the various activities related to this lead. So the meetings, emails, and calls that have been completed or are scheduled to be coming up. You can change this view by specifying if you just want to view the calls or the emails or meetings, and just narrow down which activities you'd like to see for that lead. For the escalations, under the escalations module, here you can access the import wizard to import your escalation records for a file on your computer. And like this works with all the other modules, you can create new records with that data, or create new records and update existing records. Once that, and then if you are not uploading but escalating an opportunity or an account, once that's created, that account will automatically be linked directly to that escalation. Now under reports, when you are scheduling a report, here you go to that report scheduler. I'll go back to reports, get to the right area here. So if I want to schedule a report for this average time to first response, I can go ahead and create my schedule, and then enter the data under file type. I have the options here to select PDF, CSV, or both PDF and CSV when sending that file. Going back to my PowerPoint to go through other features here. So in addition to improvements on both Sugar, Cell, and Serve, there are a number of sales-focused enhancements to Sugar Cell, such as lead conversion improvements. So with these enhancements, you can now add limitless revenue line items to your leads. You can view and add products directly from a new quick picks dashlet for your product catalog records. You can filter values directly from opportunity to the revenue line items during lead conversion. And there is a smarter lead conversion handling of Sugar Market customers that allows you to set the lead conversion option so you can automatically move all related activity records to the converted contact in Sugar Cell. For the product catalog, Quick Picks Dashlet, there is a preview icon added there, so that allows you to view the product details before adding that in as a line item. At the opportunity level, there are improvements to forecasting. So a new field called forecast allows you to cascade the forecast value to the eligible revenue line items when you're creating or editing an opportunity. There's another field, likely, which totals all the value of the likely revenue line items that have been included in that forecast. So you can see that at the line item value. Within web to lead forms, you can opt between a get or post request for a web to lead form redirect URL and choose whether to include the forms data in that redirect request. So I'll hop on back to Sugar and show you some of that. So I'll get back to opportunities. So here I have an opportunity here for Union Bank. So here you can see that product catalog Quick Picks Dashlet. And here within this opportunity, currently there are 3 revenue line items added here. I can create and add a new revenue line item here, and with this release, it's limitless, so I can add as many line items as I'd like. In addition to adding the line items here, I can do it directly, as I mentioned, from the product catalog Quick Picks. So if I want to add this Rosendo gadget, this preview icon has been added. If I click that, I can just get a preview of some of the details to make sure that this is the right item that I'm adding. I can cancel out of that and look at a different item, or just add that item directly to my revenue line items here. Update that information. Now that item is added in. Now for the forecasting, for the new forecasting field, here I can edit this to cascade to my line items, and I can include those line items or exclude them into my forecast. That will get updated across all the line items here. And this likely field would show the value that revenue line item would have for that opportunity. Now hopping over to my web to lead form redirect. Under campaigns, under my campaigns module, when you create that lead form, this window will pop up. Once the information is populated, the poster URL and the redirect URL, you have the option here to select a get or a post redirect option, and the option to include the results in that redirect campaign using this checkbox. So those are some of the sales focused enhancements. I'll hop on back to Justin, where he will go over some of the new features in the upcoming version 12 release coming up in April. Let me get back to my PowerPoint there. Okay, take it away, Justin.
All right, thank you, Anjum. This is a sneak peek. None of this is guaranteed to be in version 12, but I suspect that all of it will be. Version 12 is tentatively scheduled for mid to late April. It's my understanding that Sugar Cell will now include cases. A lot of time, sales focused customers want to be able to include some sort of incidents with their sales, whether it's with a product or a service. So Cell, I believe, will now include cases. There are some list view improvements coming. Specifically, if you imagine Excel files where you can freeze the top row or the first column so it's always visible, they're going to add that type of functionality to list views. Forecasting improvements, users and teams can commit to a total, so it's not just users anymore, it's entire teams. East versus West can have their own forecasts, and it will actually highlight and show you what you're committing to before you commit to it. There will now be a Google Drive and OneDrive integration, and that I think will become pretty useful since we've had a lot of people reaching their storage limits on the Sugar hard drive usage. So those could be really useful to a few people. Also, Sugar Identity is where they store users now. They're trying to get into the identity services functionality so we can do better single sign-on and things like that, and we'll now be able to mass update there. There's a new version of the API that's going to be released to handle all of these things. And now some of my favorites, specific to on-premise customers, Doc Merge, the newer version of PDF Manager is coming to enterprise, so that'll be available on premise. They're also dropping support for PHP 7.3 and adding support for PHP 8.0. 8.0 is another long-term release of PHP, so that's really good. Once you get on 8.0, you should be able to stay there for a while. And it should have a slight performance increase in your Sugar instance. They're also adding support for a newer version of Elasticsearch. I always like newer versions, even if I don't know what it does. So I'm happy to see a new version of Elasticsearch. And again, that's tentatively scheduled for mid to late April.
Sorry, I jumped ahead there.
Yes, thank you, Anjum. Sugar Outfitters has purchased, or Sugar has purchased Sugar Outfitters rather. That was a store for add-on products that a lot of people used, and it's really slick because now people building add-on products can actually add licensing to their products, and Sugar will handle all of that for the person building the add-on products. So with Sugar owning this now, I think we'll start to see a lot more add-ons in a lot bigger ecosystem, and I'm pretty excited about this purchase. So check it out if you haven't already.
Thank you, Justin.
All right, good afternoon. So Sugar has announced Project Constellation. Customer outreach has already began. If you are a system administrator, you have likely already received a few emails about these upcoming license conversions. There will be a series of emails depending on what product suite you're on today. So keep on the lookout. All of those emails are going to have that header of there's something on the horizon. So what does this mean? So Sugar, it's a two-part process. So for Sugar Cloud customers, whether you're on professional or enterprise, you're going to be converted to Sugar Cell Advanced. And if you are an on-premise customer who's on professional, you will be offered the option to trade up your professional license for enterprise. So Sugar started running this conversion program because they received some negative survey responses. The marketing team reached out to existing professional and enterprise customers and found that they felt like they weren't getting the most out of Sugar. With the last couple of years, all of the new features and functionality was really being pushed into the new cloud suite in Sell and Serve. So Sugar is really looking to kind of standardize the baseline product suite and give all customers access to the same features and functionality. And in February, Sugar did a beta program for this conversion. It went really well, and the customers who were part of the beta did give positive feedback on both the conversion process and also the added functionality that they have access to. So let's talk about cloud. So customers who are in the cloud on professional and enterprise, following the version 12 upgrade, they're going to be converted over to Cell Advanced. So existing Cell customers, there's going to be no change to the licensing. Sugar has basically just rebranded Cell as Cell Advanced. And as part of this whole process, there's also going to be 2 additional tiers of Cell. Cell Essentials, which is a more basic version, and Cell Premier, which is the most robust version. And we will cover some of the differences between those on a later slide. Okay, so for Sugar Cloud customers, and Anjem, you can go to the next one there, perfect. So all customers are going to get converted over to Cell Advanced. Again, this is going to take place following that version 12 upgrade. So keep an eye out for those Sugar support emails. Sugar will be reaching out directly to system admins to schedule, your version 12 upgrade. Our recommendation is when you do get that email to respond and ask that support first runs the upgrade and conversion in a sandbox. If you've got a lot of customizations in your system, or you just want to see what's coming with version 12 before it's going to be released in production, it's always a best practice to test it out in a sandbox. So one thing that's important to note with this conversion, Sugar is not removing any functionality that you're using today. This is really like a license switch. As part of Cell Advanced, Sugar's also going to be unlocking some features that weren't previously out of the box in Cell. So those kind of features are legacy workflows, the cases module, and the projects module. If you're using those today, that should come right over and you should see a very similar user experience as you do today. So again, our recommendation is to really just test out in a sandbox. And just like any other functionality, Sugar admins can choose to enable or also hide some of these new features that will be available with this license conversion. So all that can be managed in Studio. So let's look at the different Cell editions. So there's going to be 3 tiers of Cell. All existing customers are going to be moved to Cell Advanced. The primary differences here, Cell Essentials is the most basic. There's no integrations and no add-on products that are going to be compatible with Cell Essentials. This is really geared towards small businesses, and it's capped at 5 users. So it's a very basic sales use case for our smaller businesses. Cell Advanced is going to be very similar to just Cell today, unless you're using some of the functionality in Enterprise that's being brought over. So this is going to have the standard capabilities that you see with the product today. And Sugar is still actively working to make their AI Sugar Predict more robust and powerful. So that's embedded in Cell Advanced. Add-on products very similar today. You can add them on to your license base as needed, and there's no changes to the kind of support that you receive there. And then with Premier, so that's what Sugar is gearing towards as their flagship product. It essentially rolls up all of the add-on products that are out in the market today. So that's all going to be rolled up into Premier. And we can touch on that in a little more detail on our next slide. So you can see that, the basic functionality with accounts, contacts, reporting, quotes, it's in all of the editions. Where we really do start to see the differentiation between these new Cell versions is, with workflows, with the data enhancement and enrichment, with your mail and calendar integrations and mapping. And then the one thing to point out that is kind of the biggest distinguishment between Premier and the other versions. Sugar Discover, which is their analytics and reporting tool, is only available in Premier. Sugar's moved that to be embedded in Premier, and it's no longer offered as a standalone add-on as it previously was. So diving into some of these optional capabilities here, the guided selling and workflow automation is the combination of using the customer journey plugin and workflow. Data enrichment and the news sourcing is utilizing the Hint Insights tool. Mail and calendar integration is utilizing the Connect tool. And geo mapping is what was previously W Maps, bringing Bing Maps into Sugar. And let's talk a little bit about pricing. So this is just list pricing for existing customers who are maintaining their license counts. You will continue to be on the pricing structure that you're under with uplifts at every renewal contract. There will be no changes to that. This is specifically just the new list prices with this new product suite for sale. So advanced, there's no change to what that list price is. It's still $80 a user a month or $960 annually. This has a minimum of 3 users and no maximum. And you can see there the differences with the amount of cloud storage, and the support tiers are a little bit different between the versions. And otherwise, you know, the differences between advanced and Premier are really significantly tied to those add-on product functionality. So we'll be sending all of this in follow-up if you have more, you know, detailed questions on storage or pricing. We'll get you that content. So let's switch gears and talk about on-prem customers. Okay, so for Sugar customers running professional on-prem, what's going to happen is following the version 12 release, Sugar will release a professional to enterprise conversion package. So similar to today, you know, you would have to run that at your own timing. Again, we always recommend that you're doing this in a development instance first, but you've got more control on scheduling when these things would happen. Professional licenses will continue to work as they do today until you choose to run that conversion in your instance. So that license conversion will be released following version 12. The upgrade wizard will allow your administrators to easily convert that instance from professional to enterprise. And we do that just via a conversion zip file. Before running this conversion, it's always recommended to take a backup of your system and your file directory, just in case any issues do happen through that conversion process. And Sugar is still working on publishing a technical guide that gives a lot more detail on moving from professional to enterprise. We're keeping an eye out from the development community, and once we see that published, we will make sure to send those links to our on-prem customers. And that's about it for Project Constellation. If there's any Q&A, feel free to put it in the chat. Otherwise, please reach out to myself or to Misha. We will be sending some content and some links in the next few days, just more specific to the license conversion for the licenses that you're using today. And as Sugar announces version 12, we will also get emails directly out to you to the links to the content of what's coming. As Sugar support reaches out to your administrator, please let us know if you have questions. We're always happy to help with the conversion process, with getting sandboxes created, and just making sure that, you know, this goes as seamless as possible.
Thank you, Megan. Thanks, everybody. We covered a ton of information today, so I will try to break this out for you guys in the follow-up email and some smaller snippets. And as Megan said, we're going to be communicating with you as closely as possible about all these changes and updates. In the meantime, have a fantastic rest of your afternoon. And again, if any questions come up, let us know. I don't see any coming into the chat right now, so hopefully that means we answered a lot of the concerns and thoughts. But of course, we're always here if you need us. So thanks to Justin and Anjum and Megan for your guys' awesome insights today. And I hope you guys have some stuff to look forward to with these new releases and changes.